So welcome back to the Cyber Threat Coalition Town Hall. My name is Eric Galinkin. I am our community manager. But to answer the question that was posed, what I was doing matrices for is, yeah, exactly, AI research. Just to give a little bit more context about who I am, I'm an artificial intelligence researcher at Rapid7. If you haven't heard of Rapid7, you can Google it. It's a good company. We do good stuff. But I'm not here to promote Rapid7. What we are here to do is talk about the Cyber Threat Coalition and our weekly advisory, which Emily will talk about shortly, and then to hear from our guest this week, Neil Jenkins of the CTA, who's going to talk to us about their response to COVID-19 and how it's affected them. Just a few quick updates is I think we have yet again gained some more members, and so we're continuing to grow, and yeah, it's really exciting. We're at 3,844 members as of today, and I think we could get over 4,000 if everybody gets two friends, and those two friends get two friends, and you all join our Slack. We could get over 4,000. So that would be pretty exciting. We've also heard from some people in the healthcare field, hospitals, insurers, both in the US and the UK, that our block list that we're providing is being used in the healthcare industry, which is really exciting because, I mean, that's why we started, right? Or one of the reasons we started is to help the healthcare sector. Additionally, we don't have any official announcements to make yet, but we are working on a project that should make it easier for community members to participate and volunteer in the community with just like a little bit of time, just so little time. So stay tuned for that because we will be making an announcement as soon as it's ready. So with all that said, Emily, go ahead and take us away for the weekly threat review.
Awesome. If it's okay, I'm going to share my screen, or I'm going to attempt to share my screen.
Go for it.
Cool. Are you all able to see
yes, we're
Google
good.
Slides?
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Yay, it worked. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm Emily, and if you haven't joined before, I help head up our weekly threat advisory team. And so one of the things that we've been following really since the beginning of this work group is COVID-related domain trends, both registration and traffic to a lot of COVID-related endpoints. So I want to draw your attention to this graph here on the left, which is from Domain Tools. And in case you haven't seen this before, the red is a count by day of what they deem to be malicious domains, while the blue line is a count per day of newly registered, likely benign domains. And the thing that's kind of interesting here compared to the previous week's data is that we can now see with a little bit of additional clarity that here there are two spikes in seemingly benign domain registration. We haven't had the chance to look super deeply into it yet, but it's possible that that first spike is something like maybe government or existing nonprofit entities reacting to COVID, going ahead and purchasing domains that might be useful for them. It could also be companies doing brand protection by purchasing malicious sounding domains, getting ahead of typo squatters. And the second spike could be something potentially like a rise in grassroots organizations forming to help with COVID supply chain related issues, like getting PPE to the right places, et cetera. That's total speculation on our part at this point, but it's just something interesting to note because originally we had just seen the initial spike of benign domains. And so it's kind of interesting to see now that it's shaken out with additional data that there are two. If you'll kind of shift your attention to the graph on the right, this is traffic to COVID-related domains over time. Um, and from what we can tell so far, it seems to be holding steady, if perhaps trending a little bit downward. Um, we need to collect a little bit more data to say for certain, but we'll keep watching and reporting and collecting more data so that we can see. I mean, you can certainly see registration has dropped, but it'll be interesting to see if traffic drops in conjunction with that, or if those things operate independently of one another. We also looked into cloud-related hosting and domain registration. Unit 42 put out an interesting piece of research that we covered where they looked at cloud hosting and malicious domains. Perhaps not surprisingly, the majority of those domains that they looked at were registered in the US, followed by Italy, Germany, and Russia. About 56,000 of the 86,000 domains that they looked at do happen to be hosted in the cloud, which is kind of interesting. I guess not really super surprising given how prominent cloud hosting and cloud infrastructure is, but it's just something else to consider. You know, when 70% of these hosted in the cloud are hosted in AWS. And we've written up a summary of that article and have linked to it from our advisory. So I would encourage you to go take a look at that. There's some really interesting research there. Shifting gears a little bit.
Real quick, actually, we have a question
Sure.
from the audience already for you.
Sure.
Silas would like to know, is that trend from the blacklist or from a list of all domains?
So these, excuse me, both of these are from Domain Tools data and Sophos customer telemetry. So that's the source of that data. It's not from a block list or anything like that. Does that answer the question, hopefully?
So Silas responded and said, thanks. Yes, it does.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Silas and Emily.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, flipping over to something that we've talked about a lot during these advisories is ransomware. Ransomware, especially against healthcare providers, is such a huge concern right now. You know, we've heard that groups have said, oh, we're not going to do this right now. We're going to lay off healthcare providers, but we've seen that isn't actually the case, unfortunately. And Microsoft has issued some guidance on how to mitigate this risk. So in an advisory that they put out, I believe last week, they specifically talk about the risks of using remote access tools with known vulnerabilities. And this sort of echoes back to advice that we've given and also seen given about defending against COVID-related threats, which it really just boils down to, you know, practicing good security hygiene, patching systems if you are able to do that, enabling multi-factor authentication wherever possible. Just really good security practices in general are going to be a really good protection against these types of threats. But interestingly, in this article, they also address human-operated ransomware attacks, which they describe as, you know, skilled actors with detailed systems administration knowledge, being able to adapt their attack workflow to kind of meet the least resistance. So instead of just having something automated, these are, I guess, more bespoke attacks, if you will. And Microsoft advises security teams to identify potentially compromised endpoints, isolate them from the network and rebuild them. They also suggest considering all credentials present on compromised endpoints also compromised and should get those rotated as quickly as possible. So yeah, so that's it for our update this week, and I will turn it back over to you all. If I can, awesome. Let me see. Do I need to stop sharing?
Yeah. I guess you don't have to. Neil can just talk over you, and we can just look at your slides while he talks.
Let me figure out. That's actually cool. There we go.
All right, cool.
Sorry about that.
No, it's perfect. Thank you so much, Emily. That was really great, as always. So if we don't have any more questions, which Q&A looks empty.
No, we're good.
Then without any further ado, Neil Jenkins from the CTA, we're so pleased to have you here. We get lots of questions about the CTA, which is cool. So yeah, please take it away.
Thanks, appreciate it, Eric. So hi, everybody. My name is Neil Jenkins. I'm the Chief Analytic Officer at the Cyber Threat Alliance. We are a nonprofit group of mainly cybersecurity companies that have come together to share cyber threat intelligence on a regular basis. I'll talk a little bit about what we share and how we do it. But just to give you a little bit of background, these are our current members. We're currently at 26 members. And we are pretty global in nature at this point. We've got members of all various sizes, some of which you've probably heard of, maybe you use their products, several of which are part of the Cyber Threat Coalition, such as Sophos, Rapid7, thank you, Eric. And I think Alien Labs, Jaime is a part of the steering committee as well. And then looking through just who's participating, I think I saw that 18 of our members have at least one representative participating in some way in the Slack channel. So we've got a good group of folks who come together on a regular basis. We're sharing automated information every day. We bring threat intelligence researchers together to talk about their work and to share at a human-to-human level as well. The whole reason for doing that is to be able to bring threat intelligence together, allow our members to get that into their products and use it with their customers to protect their customers. So as I said, we're pretty global in nature, a lot of US companies for obvious reasons, but we've also targeted other geographic regions. We're trying to get our membership up in Asia, in South America, in Europe. And the whole idea there is, in order to get the best visibility as possible into the threat, you've got to get into as many customer bases as possible. So lots of companies in the US, obviously, but those companies in the US may not have great customer penetration in places like India and Asia to be able to see the threats that are happening there. So if we can work with companies like NEC and NTT in Japan, we can get some of that data to everybody and to be able to spread those protections as far and wide as possible. CTA uses about a couple of guiding principles in order to do our work. The most fundamental one is that you must give to receive. So in a lot of ways, we are like an ISAC, an Information Sharing and Analysis Center, for cybersecurity companies. But the only difference is we require our members to share. So in order to become a member of CTA, a member would have to exhibit the ability to share data on a regular basis, meet our threshold, our submission thresholds, and then once they do that, they get access to all of the data that members are sharing. We then, from there, have a couple of things that determine we set up a point threshold essentially to set that requirement. And the whole point of the point threshold is to get the highest quality data as possible from our members. So we want data that's timely. We want data with a lot of good context with it. We don't want just an IP address saying, hey, this IP address is bad. We'd like to see first seen, last seen with it. We'd like to see if it's attached to any kind of malware family. Please provide attack techniques, all of these kinds of things that could provide more context for our members to be able to use that threat intelligence and to help better protect their customers. We also require our members to be transparent about who is submitting the data. We don't want victim information, but we want to be able to know who is submitting the data and to be able to tag that to the submitter. From there, we're essentially trying to do three things. We're trying to enable our members to better protect their end users. So we give them the data that they can then use in their products to go out and do better protection. We want to try to systematically disrupt malicious actors. So using the collaboration that we engender and the trust that we have within our group, we want to be able to create joint documents, collaborate on activity, and respond to cyber incidents wherever possible to reduce the overall effectiveness of malicious actors. And then finally, we're hoping to elevate overall security. So we want to share content, build partnerships with other nodes within the community to enhance our overall security when it comes to cybersecurity. I thought for this conversation, the thing that would be the most interesting to talk about is the disrupting malicious actors part of our work stream. Once we have built the trust among our membership on the automated sharing side, we then seek to leverage that trust to get our members to collaborate together. And mainly we do that through our Algorithm and Intelligence Committee, where we bring together the threat intelligence researchers from our members on a regular basis to talk about the work that they're doing, kind of like what you all are doing here with these town halls, to provide presentations and briefings about their current work, and be able to give an opportunity for them to ask each other questions and leverage that to build better products, to build better awareness of their work. From there, we try and leverage that trust to do some other things like pre-publication and sharing of blogs and reports among our members, this early sharing program that we've established. That way we can not only share kind of the automated data, but also the final intelligence that's going to be produced, and give our members an opportunity to get protections in place before reports are released. And then also to do things like build working groups around events that we know are going to be targeted by malicious cyber actors. Build working groups, bring the points of contacts in our members together that are interested in that activity to better protect those events. So like the elections, the Olympics, and well, now 2021. But allow those members to come together and share their information now, shape future collection needs, and to better protect and plan for incidents that may occur. Excuse me. The early sharing program has been really important for us. It started back in 2017 with Cisco's VPN filter work. So if you're not aware, VPN filter was a malware affecting routers, mainly in the Ukraine. And as Cisco was working with the US government, some other entities on this, they saw a big uptick in infections, and they decided to provide a public notice of that, like as cybersecurity companies do often. But what was different here was they recognized how large of a problem this was and what kind of solution was required. And so they came to CTA and shared that blog and that information with our members a couple of days in advance before they did the release. And what that did was it allowed all of our members to get on the same page, understand what was happening, do their own analysis of the malware. And then when Cisco released, we were also able to have all of our members deploy protections at the same time and release similar blogs and work with their customers. And that really expanded the reach of what Cisco was able to do to disrupt the VPN filter infrastructure. And it also gave more opportunities for our members to go out and protect their customers in advance. And from that action, we've now built this into a program where members are regularly sharing their blogs and their reports with each other in advance to provide that kind of early activity. So now we're up to something like 215 blogs that we've shared early through this program. It's been really, really helpful for us. I'll talk a little bit about how that's worked with the COVID-19 response here in just a second. CTA members also are able to come together in response to an incident. So, for example, back in 2017 with WannaCry, when that was happening and everyone was scrambling to kind of figure out what was going on, not only were our members in real time able to share data through our platform, but we were also able to bring them together on a call to talk about what they were seeing and enable that human-to-human connection to share data, to ask each other questions, to work together, to cut through some of the analytic time and better protect their customers. They were able to use that to come to some understandings about what was and wasn't causing the infections, and to be able to rapidly spin up some protections in real time and connect the dots. So around COVID-19, as you'd expect, when the ecosystem started seeing this and seeing these things peak up, our members started talking about it with each other and asking each other questions. We were able to use the Algorithm Intelligence Committee and the collaboration channels we have there to start asking each other questions, sharing information that we were seeing, and really bring our members together to share their analysis around this activity. In particular, our members have been sharing indicators of compromise, specifically files and domains around this activity via the automated sharing platform and our human-to-human channels, and being able to take the information that one company has learned and be able to use that to protect all the customers for all Cyber Threat Alliance members. We've also, during this time, provided 13 early shares of blogs and reports that discuss COVID-19 themed malware. And so, for example, the Unit 42 post that Emily mentioned earlier, our members were able to get that early, glean information off of that. That's been a really good example of a lot of the key work that's been done here. Our members are able to take that information and apply it for their own protections. And then we've also been pretty forward within CTA of encouraging our members to join this, the Cyber Threat Coalition Slack channel, and participate and review the block list for potential use in their applications. So we've done a lot to talk to our members to make sure that they're aware of it, to be able to take the block list, put it through their own rigorous vetting processes, and then get those protections out to their customers. Because one of the things that we really try to push for within CTA is making sure that our solutions are scalable, right? So whenever it's possible to take a cybersecurity protection and roll it up to a cybersecurity company so that company can better protect all of its customers, and it takes the load off the customers. So with that, I just kind of wanted to provide a quick run through of what we do at CTA, what we've done around COVID-19. A lot of it has been kind of part of our normal day-to-day operations, but we have prioritized this because it's been such a big topic of conversation. Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, you actually answered one of the questions that we had, from the audience. But I just want to say, on a complete aside, I've been a huge fan of the CTA since I first learned of you guys shortly after your inception and the work that you're doing. But I'd be curious to know and understand, and I think our attendees would probably be interested as well, is that you've got all of these really great cybersecurity companies that are collaborating on threat intelligence, and obviously turning it into actionable items, like you just mentioned, with Cisco's VPN filter research and on and on and on. But I'd be curious to know, as I think the audience would be, how the CTA is turning that into possibly actionable items for, let's say, law enforcement around the globe. Because it's one thing to identify and simply block all of this stuff. It's another thing to give the information and intel to law enforcement agencies universally everywhere they are, to allow them to kick in doors and start arresting these jerks. So I'd be curious to know if you've got anything regarding that in terms of the CTA.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, our members are going to do what they're good at, right? Which is taking indicators of compromise, taking TTPs, putting them into their products, and doing as much protection of their customers as they possibly can. On top of that, though, we do have relationships with various government entities. A lot of the work that we do at CTA, we do through government certs. So, from a U.S. government perspective, we're doing a lot of work with DHS, with CISA, and then with organizations like the UK, the National Cybersecurity Center, that kind of thing. We do have relationships with law enforcement entities. We've had conversations with them in the past about various topics and various other things. We haven't specifically done anything with COVID-19 with law enforcement, but there's nothing saying that we couldn't. So that's definitely part of our partnerships that we like to build, is with government agencies, with law enforcement agencies, because you're right. We believe that cybersecurity companies can do a lot to improve the security of our members, but at the end of the day, if you really want to go after the actors, that's going to be a government agency.
Right, and I think you guys, like you mentioned, it's really great to see that symbiotic relationship, with that. And I also like the fact that, while you guys have not done anything, as you just mentioned, directly on COVID-19, I think that's why we have this partnership here. you
Yes.
know, because we are focused on that, and we are very happy to be one of those sources of information, you know, for the Cyber Threat Alliance. So with that, I don't think we have any other questions for you. You answered some of the questions as you were just talking. So thank you for that. And I'll turn it back over to Eric.
Thanks.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Neil. That was really insightful. I've, you know, dealt with the CTA for a long time, and I learned a lot just from your full, you know, few slides here. So it was really great. So I guess if we don't have any other questions, I really appreciate everyone being here. If you are watching this and you are not in our Slack channel, please, please, please join the Slack channel. I don't have the link. I know somebody's going to ask for it in chat, and I don't have it at this second, but I'm trying to get it while I'm talking. So don't leave if you're not in Slack. Follow us on Twitter, please. God, please follow us on Twitter. That is very helpful to us because it means that you can see when we do things, and it means you can help get other people to join. God, why don't I know how to get a link?
And while Eric's figuring that out, I'll also point out that we are putting out a ton of great content almost every day with this. This town hall, as our previous ones, is on video on our YouTube channel as well. Emily's advisory team is putting out amazing work once to twice a week of advisories and all of that. And we are also doing interviews and whatnot. We just released yesterday an interview with the Director of Cybersecurity for Technology Protection for the Cleveland Clinic to see how the Cleveland Clinic is doing. And I got to sit down with Keith Doomling, who is their Director of Cybersecurity, and talk with him for about 15 minutes or so. That's on our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of great content. You can find it on Twitter if that's your platform of choice, and we're also on LinkedIn as well. Eric, I see you've sent that link. So
we're on all the social medias. You should be able to find us everywhere except Snapchat. That one's extra. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Yeah, thank you all so much. That's not social media, Silas. Thank you. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for participating. Again, thank you to Neil. Join us, follow us, engage with our content, go to our website and hit refresh a lot. Yeah, thank you again, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks.
Bye.